You weren't looking for it. You were just scrolling, and then the announcement. Someone from your past, someone from your present, someone you barely know but followed anyway. And there it is. The engagement photo, the promotion post, the new house, the pregnancy announcement. And you stop. Not with jealousy exactly. Something more complicated and more specific than jealousy. A kind of internal accounting that happens without your permission. You look at what they have and you look at where you are. And where you are is the same place you were a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe longer. Same city, same situation, same prayers you've been praying, same circumstances that haven't moved despite the praying. And you put the phone down, or you keep scrolling. You're not sure which is worse, because scrolling confirms the comparison, and putting the phone down doesn't make the comparison stop. It just moves it inside your head, where it's louder, where there's no visual to blame it on, where it's just you, in the sense that something is wrong with you specifically, that the world is a conveyor belt that everyone else is riding forward. And you stepped off somehow, and you can't remember when, and you don't know how to get back on. And the worst part isn't the stagnation. It's the conclusion the stagnation produces. That the common variable in everything that isn't moving, the job, the relationship, the season, is you. Here's what the comparison does over time. It stops being about the specific person whose announcement you saw. It becomes a pattern. And patterns are harder to argue with than individual data points. Because one person moving forward is coincidence. 2 people is a trend. 10 people, across your feed, across your community, across the circle you've watched for years, feels like evidence. Evidence of something specific about you. And the mind starts constructing the case. The people who got promoted, they had something you don't. The people who found a relationship, they have something you don't. The ones who seem to be living in the next chapter, they access something, made a decision, had something open for them that hasn't opened for you. And the longer you look for what's different between you and them, the more you find it. Not because the evidence is actually there, because confirmation bias is a powerful tool the mind uses when it's already decided the conclusion. And the conclusion it's decided is, I'm the problem, not the season, not the timing, not the specific, unglamorous reality that different people move at different speeds through different paths. Me, I'm why I'm still here. And that conclusion, quiet, persistent, confirmed by every scroll, is heavier than stagnation. Because stagnation you can survive, but a conclusion that you're the reason for it, that lives in you differently. That changes how you show up, how you reach for things, whether you reach at all. Here's something the comparison never shows you. The timeline of someone else's life is not a timeline you're behind on. It's a different timeline, one that has nothing to do with yours, except that you're watching it at the same time. And simultaneity feels like competition even when it isn't. The person who got engaged wasn't racing you. The person who got promoted wasn't winning something you were competing for. They moved through a door in their specific story, and you have not yet moved through the door in yours. And those are not the same event. They just happen in the same news feed. And here's what the news feed never shows. It doesn't show you the doors they didn't go through, the relationships that didn't work before this one, the promotions they didn't get before this one, the season of stagnation they lived through before this chapter became available to post about. It shows you the arrivals, not the road. And you're on the road, the full, long, unpostable road. That produces no announcement because it hasn't reached the arrival yet. But the road isn't the problem. The road is the process. And most of what matters in any journey happens on the road, not at the destination. What if you're not stuck? What if you're in a part of the journey that looks like stuck from the outside? Because here's what formation actually looks like from the inside. It doesn't look like progress. It looks like waiting. It looks like the same circumstances greeting the same morning. It looks like the prayer that's been prayed before and still hasn't produced a visible result. And it looks like everyone else moving while you stay. But something is happening underneath the visible. The capacity for patience being built. The trust being tested and holding. The character being pressed into a shape that the easier path could never produce. And the people moving forward in their visible milestones. They're not ahead of you. They're in a different lane, in a different part of their own formation, which may be further along in some visible metrics, and behind you in others you can't see. Because formation is not linear, and it is not a race, and the comparing of timelines as though they're on the same track has always been the thing that made the road feel wrong. The road isn't wrong. The comparison is. Think about two seeds planted in the same garden on the same day. One breaks the surface in a week. The other stays underground for a month. And if you're watching the garden, you start to wonder about the second seed. Whether something's wrong with it, whether it's defective, whether the soil rejected it. But underground, the second seed is developing a root system that the first one didn't have time to build. Because the longer the germination, the deeper the roots. And when it finally breaks through, it comes up more anchored, more prepared for the conditions above the ground. The delay wasn't defect. It was depth. You're the second seed, not broken, not rejected by the soil, developing underground in ways that don't show on the surface, in ways that the people watching the garden can't see, in ways that won't be visible until the moment the breakthrough arrives. And the seed that broke the surface first isn't ahead of you. It's just visible before you, which is not the same thing. Visible earlier doesn't mean better positioned. It means the root system had less time to form. And what you're building underground right now, invisible, unglamorous, showing up as nothing on anyone's feed, is exactly what the next season is going to require. David was anointed king as a teenager, and then he went back to tending sheep, not to a palace, not to preparation that looked like preparation, to the fields, with the animals, in the most ordinary possible version of life. And years passed. The anointing was real. The promise was real. And the visible circumstances gave absolutely no indication of either. He was a shepherd. And then one day his father needed someone to bring food to his brothers at the battle. An errand, not a destiny moment. An errand. And on the way to delivering the food, Goliath spoke. And everything that had been building in the invisible season, the trust, the courage, the specific kind of faith that forms when no one is watching and nothing is confirming the promise, all of it was available. Right there, in the moment that required it. Because the formation hadn't been wasted. It had been preserved for exactly the moment that needed it. David didn't look stuck to God during the years of tending sheep. He looked like someone being prepared in the specific way that the visible seasons couldn't produce. In the place where no one was watching and no one was posting and no announcement was coming. And the anointing was being fulfilled the whole time. You have been anointed for something. And the gap between the anointing and the throne is not failure. It's the formation that makes the throne sustainable. So here's what I want to say to the version of you who put the phone down. You are not the common variable that explains why nothing is moving. You are someone in the middle of a formation that hasn't become visible yet, and the comparison that told you otherwise. The feed that showed you everyone else's arrivals while you're still on the road. That comparison was never measuring the right thing. It measured visibility, and visibility is not the same as progress. Some of the most significant progress that has ever happened in your life is happening right now. In the part you can't post about, in the patience that's being built, in the trust that's holding without confirmation, in the root system going deeper than any announcement could measure, and the people moving forward in their visible milestones. They are not your competition. They are other people in other parts of other journeys. And their moving doesn't mean you're not. Their arriving doesn't mean you're lost. Their chapter 3 doesn't mean you failed chapter 2. You're in your own story, on your own timeline, being formed for your own version of what comes next. And what comes next requires exactly the length of formation you've been in. No longer, no shorter, this long, because what's being built in this season is the thing the next one needs. And you won't know what that is until you get there. And you'll get there. Before you go, type these words in the comments. I'm not behind. I'm still becoming. Not as a denial that the waiting is hard, as a recalibration of what the waiting means. You are not the common variable in everything that hasn't moved. You are the person being prepared for what's going to. And what's going to move, when it moves, will make sense of everything that waited.